Guts, from Berserk, was born from his mother's corpse after she was hanged. She died while pregnant, and when a group of mercenaries found her body hanging from a tree, they thought the baby underneath was dead too. But then Guts started crying, and a woman named Shisu took pity on him and raised him. 3 years later, Shisu died from the plague right in front of him. So, by age 3, Guts had already lost 2 mothers. The mercenary leader Gambino became the closest thing to a father Guts ever had, teaching him to fight with a sword when he was only 6 years old. But when Guts was 9, a mercenary named Donovan ambushed Guts in his tent one night and assaulted him, then told him that Gambino had sold him for the night. Guts was 9 years old, and the man he looked up to as a father had literally sold him to be violated. In the next battle, Guts hunted down Donovan and killed him, but the damage was already done. Things got worse after Gambino lost his leg in battle. For 2 years, Gambino abused Guts verbally and physically, blaming him for all his misfortune. One night, drunk and angry, Gambino tried to kill Guts and revealed the truth. That yes, he really had sold Guts to Donovan, and that he was disgusted by Guts' existence. Guts had to kill Gambino in self-defense, and then got branded a father killer by the other mercenaries who chased him until he fell off a cliff. Eventually, Guts joined a mercenary group, the Band of the Hawk, led by Griffith. For the first time in his life, Guts found something like a family and a purpose. He became the captain of their raiders and fell in love with Casca. They fought in a huge war, and Guts became known as the 100-Man Slayer after single-handedly killing 100 enemy soldiers in one battle. Everything seemed like it might actually work out for once. But then Guts decided to leave the Band of the Hawk to find his own dream, instead of just following Griffith's. This departure sent Griffith into a spiral, leading him to make a terrible decision that got him captured and tortured for a year. When Guts and the others finally rescued Griffith, he was completely destroyed. Then came the eclipse, which is where Guts' torture reaches levels that are almost impossible to comprehend. Griffith activated Beharit that transported the entire Band of the Hawk to another dimension. God Hand offered Griffith a deal. He could be reborn as one of them if he sacrificed all his comrades, and Griffith said yes. Guts had to watch as demons tore apart and ate all of his friends and comrades alive. He fought desperately against hordes of these monsters, but there were too many. Only 2 people survived the eclipse, Guts and Casca, and they were both branded with marks that attract evil spirits and demons for the rest of their lives. Casca's mind completely broke from the trauma, regressing her to a childlike mental state where she couldn't even speak properly or recognize Guts. The baby she was pregnant with, Guts' child, was corrupted by what happened and born as a demon infant that faded into the astral world. For 2 years after the eclipse, Guts abandoned the regressed Casca to hunt demons and apostles in a quest for revenge. He became known as the Black Swordsman, wielding a sword so massive it was more like a hunk of iron than an actual weapon. He got a mechanical arm with a cannon built into it to replace the one he cut off. Every night, evil spirits and demons were attracted to his brand, trying to kill him, so he could never truly rest or find peace. When Guts finally went back for Casca, things got even more complicated. One night, he was briefly possessed and strangled her. Another time, after finding her surrounded by dead thieves, Guts' inner darkness took over and he nearly hurt her in an unforgivable way, just like Griffith had done. He stopped himself, but the damage to their relationship was done. Casca became terrified of him, unable to separate Guts from the trauma of the eclipse. The one person he wanted to protect most was now afraid of him. To deal with increasingly powerful enemies, Guts started using the Berserker armor. This armor removes all of the body's natural limits, letting him fight with superhuman strength and ignore pain completely. But the armor brings out a bestial darkness inside him that makes him unable to tell friend from enemy. When he loses control, he attacks everyone around him indiscriminately. The armor also causes progressive damage to his body, breaking bones and then forcing metal spikes through his flesh to reconstruct them while he's still fighting. He's slowly going blind from using it, and every time he puts it on, he risks losing his humanity completely and becoming a mindless monster. Inside Guts' mind lives the Beast of Darkness, which is basically the personification of all his rage, hatred, and trauma. It looks like a massive demonic dog or wolf and constantly tempts him to give in to violence and destruction. The Beast wants Guts to kill everyone, to stop caring about anything, to become a true monster. And the more Guts uses the Berserker armor, the stronger the Beast gets. He's literally fighting a war inside his own head every single day to stay human. After years of struggle, Guts finally managed to restore Casca's mind with the help of magic users in a place called Elfhelm. But when she woke up and saw him, she screamed in horror because seeing his face brought back all her memories of the eclipse and what Griffith did to her. Even though Guts had spent years protecting her and fighting to restore her sanity, she couldn't look at him without reliving her worst trauma. Then, just when things seemed like they might improve, Griffith showed up at Elfhelm and kidnapped Casca right in front of Guts. Despite all his power, despite the Berserker armor, despite everything he'd been through, Guts couldn't even touch Griffith. His attacks just phased right through him. After everything, losing his arm and eye, watching his friends die, spending years hunting demons, finally restoring Casca, Griffith just took her away like it was nothing. Ken Kaneki was just a normal college student living in Tokyo. He spent most of his time reading books and hanging out at a coffee shop called Anteiku. One day, he met a girl named Rise Kamishiro who seemed to share his love for books. He asked her out, and she said yes. That date almost killed him. Rise was a ghoul, a creature that looks human but survives by eating human flesh. She lured Kaneki to a secluded area and attacked him, biting into his shoulder. But before she could finish him off, steel beams from a construction site above fell and crushed her. Kaneki was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. A doctor named Kanu made a decision that changed everything. He transplanted Rise's organs into Kaneki to save his life. When Kaneki woke up, he was no longer fully human. He had become a half ghoul, also called a one-eyed ghoul. Normal food tasted disgusting to him now. The only thing that smelled good was human flesh. Kaneki tried to hold on to his humanity. He joined Anteiku, a coffee shop run by ghouls who chose not to hunt humans. For a while, things were okay. But then Aogiri Tree, a violent ghoul organization, attacked and kidnapped him. This is where his real suffering began. Kaneki was handed over to a ghoul named Yamori, also called Jason. Yamori had been tortured himself in the past by a ghoul investigator who had a habit of cracking his fingers. Now Yamori did the same thing and enjoyed inflicting pain on others. For about 10 days, Yamori tortured Kaneki in a sealed room. He would cut off Kaneki's fingers and toes, then wait for them to regenerate because of his ghoul healing abilities, and then cut them off again. To make the pain last longer, Yamori injected him with a liquid called an RC suppressant. This slowed down Kaneki's regeneration, so he would heal just enough to be tortured again. Yamori also put a centipede inside Kaneki's ear. He forced Kaneki to count backwards from 1,000 by sevens. This was meant to keep Kaneki's mind focused, so he would not pass out from the pain. Every time Kaneki made a mistake or stopped counting, Yamori would hurt him more. But the worst part was not physical. Yamori brought in 2 prisoners, a mother and her child. He told Kaneki to pick one of them to die. If Kaneki refused to choose, Yamori would kill both. Kaneki tried to offer himself instead, but Yamori did not care. He killed both of them anyway, right in front of Kaneki. This broke him. Inside his mind, Kaneki had a conversation with a vision of Rize. She told him that he had been wrong to keep holding back, to keep letting others hurt him. Kaneki accepted his ghoul side. When he opened his eyes, his hair had turned completely white from the stress and trauma. He broke free from his restraints and fought Yamori. He won and even ate part of Yamori's kagune to grow stronger. But here's the thing people miss about this scene. Kaneki did not become a hero after this. He became someone else entirely. Before the torture, he was kind and hated violence. After it, he was cold and willing to hurt others. He left Anteiku and formed his own group. He started cracking his fingers the same way Yamori did, a habit he picked up from his torturer. Subaru Natsuki was a shut-in living in Japan. He spent most of his time at home playing games and avoiding the outside world. One night, he walked out of a convenience store and suddenly found himself in a completely different world. No warning, no explanation, no truck. He was just there. Unlike most isekai protagonists, Subaru did not get any cool powers. No super strength, no magic abilities, nothing. The only thing he got was an ability called Return by Death. Whenever he dies, he wakes up at a previous point in time, like a checkpoint in a video game. He keeps all his memories of what happened. Everyone else forgets. Every single death is real to him. He feels all the pain. He experiences the fear. And then he has to wake up and pretend nothing happened while carrying that trauma alone. In the first arc alone, Subaru gets his guts sliced open by an assassin named Elsa. This happens multiple times. He dies, resets, tries again, and dies again. Later at Roswell's mansion, he gets beaten to death by Rem with a mace. She suspected him of being an enemy. In another loop, he dies from a curse placed by a shaman in the village. The curse makes him vomit blood and collapse. But the deaths are only part of it. Subaru cannot tell anyone about Return by Death. The Witch of Envy, the one who gave him this power, will not allow it. When Subaru tries to explain his situation, shadowy hands appear and squeeze his heart. The pain is extreme, and if he pushes harder, the people he is trying to tell get hurt instead. When he tried to tell Amelia, the shadows reached toward her. He had to stop, so he is completely alone with this burden. He watches people he cares about die, resets, and then has to see them alive again knowing exactly how they died. He knows what is coming and often cannot stop it. One of his worst deaths happens in Season 2. He gets eaten alive by the Great Rabbit, a swarm of countless small white rabbits that devour everything in their path. They do not kill quickly. They eat him piece by piece while he is still conscious. Lucy was not born a monster. She was born a Diclonius, a rare mutation where humans are born with small horns on their head and invisible arms called vectors. These vectors can cut through almost anything. Lucy did not choose to have them. She was just born that way. Her life was difficult from the very beginning. She was abandoned as a baby and ended up in an orphanage. The other children there bullied her constantly because of the horns on her head. She tried to hide them under a cap, but the kids still treated her like a freak. She had no friends and no one who cared about her. Then she found a puppy. It was a stray, and Lucy kept it hidden near the orphanage. That dog became her only friend. She fed it, took care of it, and it was the one thing in her life that made her feel less alone. She made the mistake of telling another girl at the orphanage about the puppy, thinking she could trust her. That girl told the bullies. A group of boys found the puppy and brought it inside. They beat it to death right in front of Lucy while she screamed at them to stop. One of them even asked her why she was crying over a dog when she never cried over her own abuse. Something inside her snapped. Her vectors activated and she killed everyone in that room. That was the first time Lucy killed. She was still a child. Later, she met a boy named Kota at a local festival. He was kind to her. He did not treat her like a freak. For a brief time, she actually felt happy. She started to have feelings for him. But then she saw him with his cousin Yuka and felt like he had lied to her. Her unstable mind combined with the Diclonius instinct pushing her toward violence led to something terrible. She attacked the train Kota's family was on and killed his father and his little sister Kane. Kota witnessed it. The trauma was so severe that he repressed the memory for years. Lucy was eventually captured and taken to a research facility. She spent years there as a test subject. They kept her locked up with a heavy metal helmet over her head. Scientists ran experiments on her and treated her like an object, not a person. She had no freedom, no kindness, and no hope. At the start of the anime, Lucy escapes from the facility. During her escape, she gets shot in the head. The bullet does not kill her, but damages her brain. This creates a split personality. A new innocent persona called Nayu emerges. Nayu acts like a child, cannot speak properly, and has no memory of the things Lucy did. The cruel twist is that Kota, now older, finds Nayu on a beach and takes her in. He does not recognize her as the girl who killed his family. And Nayu does not remember doing it, but Lucy is still inside, and she remembers everything. Lucy never got to be a normal girl. She was hated for how she was born, abused by other children, had her only friend killed in front of her, and then spent years being experimented on like an animal. The world treated her like a monster before she ever became one. And by the time she wanted to be something else, it was already too late. Rika Furude looks like an adorable little girl. She is the shrine maiden of Hinamizawa, a small rural village in Japan. She speaks in a cute way, often ending sentences with nipa and referring to herself in third person. She acts innocent and childlike. It is all an act. Rika is mentally over 100 years old. She has been trapped in a time loop, repeating the same few weeks of June 1983 over and over again. Every single loop ends in tragedy. Either she dies, or everyone in the village dies, or both. Then she wakes up back at the beginning and has to do it all again. The loops exist because of Hanyu, a deity connected to the local Oyashiro-sama religion. Hanyu has the power to turn back time when Rika dies. She does this because she cares about Rika and wants to give her another chance. But after hundreds of loops, this gift has become a curse. In almost every loop, something goes horribly wrong. There is a disease in Hinamizawa called Hinamizawa syndrome. It is a real parasitic infection that affects the brain. When triggered by stress or paranoia, it causes people to become violent, delusional, and homicidal. Rika has watched her friends succumb to this syndrome in every possible combination. She has seen Keiichi beat people to death with a bat. She has seen Shion torture and kill multiple people out of grief-fueled madness. She has seen Rena take hostages and threaten to blow up a school. These are her friends. And in the next loop, they remember nothing while she remembers everything. Rika herself dies in brutal ways. She has been stabbed, beaten, disemboweled, and injected with drugs. In one loop, she is held down while her stomach is cut open and her intestines are pulled out while she is still alive. In another, she is killed by someone she trusted completely. The worst part is knowing it will happen again. Every loop, Rika wakes up and sees her friends smiling and happy. She knows that within weeks, some of them might be dead or insane. She goes through the motions, acting cute and cheerful, while inside she is exhausted and broken. She has a habit of drinking wine alone and speaking in a completely different voice when no one else is around. That voice is tired, cynical, and sounds nothing like the cheerful girl the village knows. Hanyu is the only one who shares her memories. They have conversations where Rika drops the act entirely. She talks about giving up. She wonders if there is any point in trying anymore. After 100 years, hope is hard to maintain. In the sequel series Higurashi-gu and Sotsu, we learned that Rika eventually did escape the original loops, but then she got pulled back into new ones. The cycle of suffering continued even after she thought she was free. Brook from One Piece was originally a human pirate and musician who sailed with a crew called the Rumbar Pirates about 50 years before the main story begins. They had this friend, a baby whale named Laboon, who they met at the beginning of the Grand Line. Laboon got so attached to the crew that he followed their ship, so they promised him they'd come back after their journey was done. Brook and his crew sailed off, and Laboon stayed behind waiting for them. But then everything went wrong. The entire Rumbar Pirates crew got infected with a deadly plague while sailing through a place called the Florian Triangle. One by one, Brook watched all his friends and crewmates die from this disease. Before they died, they decided to record one final song for Laboon so he could at least hear their voices one last time. They were literally playing music and singing while dying, with Brook watching his friends drop dead around him one after another until he was the only one left alive. Then he died too. He had eaten a devil fruit called the Yomi Yomi no Mi that gives you one chance to come back to life after you die. When Brook's soul left his body and tried to return, he got lost in the thick fog of the Florian Triangle. It took so long for his soul to find his body that by the time he got back to it, there was nothing left but bones. His entire body had decayed to a skeleton, with only his afro still intact because apparently his hair has really strong roots. So Brook came back to life as a walking, talking skeleton, surrounded by the corpses of all his dead friends. For the next 50 years, Brook was completely alone on a ghost ship drifting through the fog. He couldn't even die again because the Yomi Yomi no Mi already brought him back once, and now he's basically immortal as a skeleton. He spent half a century on that ship with nothing but the bones of his dead crewmates for company. Every single day for 50 years, Brook was trapped in that fog with no one to talk to, nothing to do but play music to the corpses of his friends and remember the promise he made to Laboon. The worst part is that Brook stayed optimistic and kept his sense of humor through all of it. He'd make jokes and puns about being dead, laugh at skeleton jokes, and keep playing music even though no one was alive to hear it. But this was clearly a coping mechanism to deal with the absolutely crushing loneliness and despair. He talks about how he would break down crying, literally sobbing alone in the dark, wondering if anyone would ever find him or if he'd be trapped there forever. He admits there were times he wanted to just give up and stop existing, but he couldn't because he was already dead. Hyakkimaru from Dororo has one of the most brutal origin stories in anime. His father, a feudal lord named Kagemitsu Daigo, made a pact with 12 demons to gain prosperity for his land. The price for this deal was his newborn son's body. When Hyakkimaru was born, these demons took almost everything from him: his skin, eyes, ears, nose, arms, legs, and even his voice. He came into the world as barely more than a lump of flesh, missing most of the body parts that make someone human. His father looked at this horrifying result of his deal and immediately ordered the baby to be killed. Hyakkimaru was thrown away like garbage, abandoned in a river to die as an infant. He was literally sacrificed by his own father for political power before he even took his first breath. The only reason Hyakkimaru survived at all was because a doctor and prosthetics maker named Jukai found him. Jukai took pity on this broken infant and raised him, creating artificial body parts so Hyakkimaru could at least function. These prosthetics were made of wood and clay, painted to look like skin, with weapons hidden inside them, since Jukai knew the boy would need to defend himself. Growing up, Hyakkimaru couldn't see, hear, smell, taste, or speak. He experienced the world only through a supernatural ability to sense souls, seeing people as colored flames rather than actual human beings. He lived in almost complete sensory deprivation, unable to experience anything normal people take for granted. He couldn't hear music, couldn't see a sunset, couldn't taste food, couldn't smell flowers. His entire existence was defined by what he was missing, by the emptiness where his body should have been. The curse that stole his body parts also gave him demonic powers as a side effect. Hyakkimaru gained superhuman strength, speed, and healing abilities that let him fight and kill demons. But the more he uses his demonic abilities, the more he risks losing his humanity completely and transforming into a demon himself. Throughout the series, his anger and rage cause a demonic flame inside him to grow stronger, and people close to him worry he'll stop being human altogether if he can't control it. Hyakkimaru's entire life becomes a quest to kill the 12 demons who took his body parts and reclaim what was stolen from him. Every time he kills one of these demons, he gets back one piece of his body, but each time he regains a body part, he loses one of his demonic powers. When he gets his ears back, he can suddenly hear, but the world is overwhelming and painful because he's never experienced sound before. When he gets his sense of pain back, every injury he takes suddenly hurts in ways he never felt before. Getting his body back means experiencing suffering he'd been protected from by not having those senses. The first time Hyakkimaru experienced warmth and kindness was when he met a girl named Mio who sang to him and took care of orphaned children. He fell in love with her because she was the first person to show him genuine compassion. But then soldiers from his father's army killed Mio and all the children she was protecting. When Hyakkimaru found their bodies, he completely lost control. He went on a rampage and slaughtered his father's soldiers mercilessly and brutally, showing that the monster people feared he could become was real. This was his first major emotional trauma after finally learning what it felt like to care about someone. Things get even worse when Hyakkimaru learns the full truth about what his father did to him. His father's land prospered because of the demonic pact, and that prosperity came directly from Hyakkimaru's suffering. Every body part he reclaims causes disasters in his father's territory, droughts, famines, and other problems. So the people who should be happy for him, including his younger brother Tahomaru, actually want him dead because his existence threatens their comfortable lives. His own brother, who got to grow up with a complete body and their father's love, sees Hyakkimaru as a demon who needs to be destroyed for the good of the land. Hyakkimaru's mother is the only family member who actually loves him, but she couldn't protect him when he was born and has lived with horrible guilt ever since. She even tries to sacrifice herself to the demons to help him carry the burden of the land's prosperity. When Hyakkimaru finally confronts his father and brother, his younger brother Tahomaru actually takes Hyakkimaru's eyes that he'd just regained and transplants them into his own head after Hyakkimaru cuts out his eye in a fight. So Hyakkimaru loses his newly recovered eyes again, stolen by his own brother. During the final battles, Hyakkimaru becomes so consumed by rage and hatred that he starts turning into a full demon. He loses his ability to distinguish between who deserves his revenge and who's innocent. He slaughters his father's entire army without mercy, tears through their bases, and nearly destroys everything. The demonic power inside him grows so strong that he becomes nearly unstoppable and invulnerable, but at the cost of his humanity and emotions. The only thing that brings him back from the edge is his mother's love. She tells him she always loved him and apologizes for not being able to save him. But even this moment of redemption comes with tragedy. His mother stabs herself to try to redeem herself for her failures, and she dies in a collapsing castle. His younger brother also dies in the same incident. His father, dying from the broken demonic pact causing fatal blood loss, asks Hyakkimaru to perform seppuku on him. In the end, Hyakkimaru is left as the last surviving member of his family, having watched his mother and brother die and having to let his father pass away peacefully despite everything he did. Enma looks like a teenage girl with long black hair and red eyes. She speaks quietly and shows almost no emotion, but she is over 400 years old, and her story is one of the most tragic in anime. I was born in a small village in feudal Japan. The village had a cruel tradition. To ensure good harvests and protect against disasters, they would sacrifice a child to the mountain god. This ritual was called the Seven Send-Off. I was chosen to be that sacrifice. She had one person who cared about her, a boy named Sentaro. They were close, and he promised to protect her. When the time came for the ritual, Sentaro was supposed to help her escape. Instead, he gave in to the pressure from the villagers. He participated in burying her alive. I did not die quickly. She was conscious underground, clawing at the dirt above her, trying to get out. She suffocated slowly in the darkness, betrayed by the one person she trusted and abandoned by her own parents who allowed it to happen. Her hatred did not end with her death. I came back. Consumed by rage, she set the entire village on fire. She killed everyone. The villagers who sacrificed her, the people who watched and did nothing, and even her own parents. No one survived. As punishment for this massacre, I was condemned to become the Hellgirl. This was not a reward or a second chance. It was a sentence. She was bound to serve as a ferryman of souls for eternity. Here's how it works. There is a website called the Hell Correspondence that can only be accessed at midnight by people who hold a strong grudge. If someone submits a name, I appears and offers them a straw doll with a red string. If they pull the string, the person they hate will be sent immediately to hell. But there is a price. When the person who made the contract dies, they will also go to hell. No exceptions. I cannot refuse these requests. She must carry out the vengeance whether she wants to or not. Every time she takes a soul to hell, she says the same line: "Your grievance shall be avenged." She has been doing this for over 400 years. Throughout the series, I witnesses the worst of humanity over and over. People use her service out of jealousy, greed, and petty grudges. Some requests are justified and some are not. It does not matter. She has to fulfill them all. She is not just the one who delivers punishment. She is being punished herself. Her existence as Hellgirl is her eternal sentence for burning down that village. She cannot rest, cannot move on, and cannot escape. She is stuck repeating the same role forever, watching humans destroy each other while being forced to help them do it. Enma is both the torturer and the tortured. If you like this video, turn on the notification bell and subscribe for more.